certainly has a very, very excellent chance. It's time for round number 11. I'm going to send it on over to Ailey and Corey with the call.
Thank you so much, Maria. Standard time, Corey Baumeister. What are you looking forward to in this matchup, which is kind of a repeat of what we've seen? So no, you're not experiencing deja vu.
Yep.
Different format, different pairings. So
Yep,
yeah, these guys are going to have to duke it out again.
I'm excited. You know, this is a matchup that's definitely going to favor Reid Duke. We've seen this matchup play out earlier yesterday with Domain up against Golgari, where Nassif did end up losing to some unfortunate draws, but, you know, that's kind of what it takes to lose from the Domain side, as it is that good of a draw. And this is just the time in a tournament that I love the most, where we start to send players to the top 8, get to see those big reactions from the players, and see them, you know, have their whole 2 weeks worth of testing kind of come true.
2 weeks only?
2 weeks, yeah, maybe more.
Oh man, these players have been working towards this World Championship the entire season. Here they are. Who is going to make it into the top 8? Reid Duke at 9-1. So if he wins here, he's in. He's good to boogie. Yep. But starting things off here with Duress from Anthony Lee, taking a look at the hand. Double up the Beanstalks. So Beanstalk gamers, rise up.
Absolutely. Pretty, you know, Duress-proof hand. Like, I'm sure we're going to see one of these up the Beanstalks taken away, but that's still going to be a good turn 2 play for Reid. But I want to draw some attention to right below Anthony Lee's name there with opening hand of 5.
Ow.
Not ideal. Does have the Moss Dreadnought to get some value going, but not the start Anthony wanted.
Not at all. So hopefully drawn to some better options with the Mosswood Dreadnought and the Dread Whispers. Does have Glissa Sunslayer. We're kind of, you know, discussing this card when we saw Golgari so represented this weekend. It's kind of, it was almost the card without a home.
Yes.
For a long time, and now seems to have found a pretty nice shell to fit into.
Absolutely, and thanks to this card here on the left, Mosswood Dreadnought really enabled another good 2-drop for this deck. It really needed it there.
Yeah, with sticking power and just, you know, a value engine through the long, grindy games, this card is going to do work for you.
So we did see Virtue taken because Glissa was in the hand for Anthony, and now we're just going to do a removal check. Is there an answer to Glissa, or will Glissa start to take over? And as of right now, I don't see one.
Anthony's just like, please live, please live. That would be great. Yeah, unlike Mosswood Dreadnought, Glissa not coming back so easily.
And I mean, Please Live is working so far, and if Glissa connects, either drawing a card or destroying target enchantment, there's a pretty good one on the battlefield to get some value off.
So this Citizen likely going to jump in the way of this pesky First Striking Death Touch. Who put First Striking Death Touch on a creature?
Someone who really wanted Golgari to be good.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
It's like, all right, what do I have to do to see this played at the highest stage of them all? And this is it. Glissa Sunslayer does work.
This looks like a card that would be designed by Reid Duke, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, you know, if we're talking about cards that Reid Duke would design, if he is world champion, he gets to do it. So, you know, a lot of us figured, hey, Utah's going to make a fairy. Reid may well make something a little Golgari.
And how cool of a moment was that? Reid asking Utah to sign.
That was so cool.
What if it's the flip side next year? Utah comes up asking Reid to sign the card.
That would be awesome.
Put this together. Gotta love those player interactions from some of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, Reid Duke is such a quality individual. My very first event, I wanted to get a deck box signed by all the players taking part. Was the Mythic Invitational in Boston 2019, I think.
Sure.
And he knew that I was looking for everyone. He comes up to me and he says, hey, I haven't signed your box yet. Can I sign your deck box for you? I'm like, yes, please.
Yeah, a class act.
Guy. Yeah.
I was lucky enough to be on a testing team with him for multiple years, and not only did I learn a ton, but you know, was always treated with respect and dignity, even though I was not a very good player. Maybe. So.
Well, you are a very good player, Corey Baumeister. Leyline Binding, gonna get some double value off those up the Beanstalks, and getting that Glissa off the battlefield too.
Yeah, and that was pretty needed because Anthony had a great curve out for this mull to 4. You know, basically Hellbent maybe has one card here, but Reid really needed that Leyline Binding. So an incredible draw. Now he has the breathing room to maybe take a couple hits from this Tortoise and Moss Knight and maybe try to get to that point where he can cast that Atraxa. But step one was you had to have a way to deal with Glissa, and he found it.
Yeah, Glissa off the board. We'll be able to keep these enchantments safe. For the time being, Leyline Binding would be an excellent target for removal.
Yep.
But at the moment, look at the disparity in the hand size right now. Anthony just has Gix's command and Topiary Stomp, but attracts a Herd Migration twice and a Sunfall now for Reid Duke. If he had to fire off that Sunfall, that is back-breaking for Anthony.
And that was off the top. That was huge there. That was really the difference in the game, because that Foundry would have actually given Anthony a lethal attack next turn. With the Sunfall off the top. Not only a great exile effect to deal with all the creatures, you get an Incubate token yourself, and why not draw 2 cards when you got both Up the Beanstalks in play?
Good grief, Value Town. I mean, those are the only 2 copies of Up the Beanstalk in Reid Duke's opening hand. So you just know that these cards are like, reporting for duty, sir.
And Reid's thinking, I'm moving on up with those Beanstalks.
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure.
Certainly climbing at a rapid rate, no slowing down. Is Reid Duke. He wants to get this, one more win and done. I don't want to take another chance at getting into the top 8. I want to lock it up right now.
Yep.
I want to chill out for the rest of the day and then worry about top 8 later.
Absolutely. Cheer on some teammates. Still got plenty of teammates left in the field doing well, as they are one of the best teams to be doing it right now. And have been for years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the years of experience in Team Channel Fireballs.
Yep.
Absolutely ridiculous. So formidable forces indeed. But Anthony Lee, no one to scoff at here, the ANZ champion.
Just gets the Dread Knight down, and just at this point now, it's just Reid can kind of pick whatever. But I'm guessing we're going to see...
Ancestral briefcase, like you called it yesterday.
Yeah, there you go.
Herd Migration, go get some life and land.
Yep, so gets the 5.
Oh, no, we're going for a... Yep. We're going for the big swing now. Yeah, let's just get this game over and done with, says Reid Duke. Herd Migration, let's get those 3/3s out the board. On the board.
Absolutely, you get to draw the 2 cards as well, and this Golgari mid-range deck can only really attack on the ground. So if you can just gum up the battlefield on the ground, Anthony's not going to be able to get through that. And this should be pretty trivial from this point, with Reid having the world at his fingertips.
Oh, yeah. Even Gix's command just gets worse the more things there are on the board, so... I'm going to game number 2 here shortly, I think. Go for the throat, sure. A way to try and stay alive. This Moss with Dread Knight can keep coming back, but not looking good here for Anthony. Yeah,
and cards like Cut Down, Gig's Command, even Virtue of Persistence, Go for the Throat. These are the cards that are going to be coming out from Anthony's deck. And, looking at the sideboard, a lot of other things that are going to be coming in. Phyrexian Arena, Duress, Nissa, these things that... I'll block with all.
Oh, man, where's your Death Touch combat trick when you need it, huh?
Oh, too funny.
Not in the deck. That's where it is. Now to 16. Oh, goes Anthony. He's going to try and find something here. Go for the Throat, Swamp, Gix's command in hand on the other side of things. Just the world at his fingertips for Reid Duke.
Yeah, and even though this is kind of a nice little exchange, with this Dread Knight taking care of a beast, over the course of enough time, it would take care of all the beasts.
Oh, yeah. It's just the life total that's the problem.
Exactly. But now we're going to see a huge attack from Reid, and you can just go second main phase, 5 more 3/3s. Yeah. Next turn, we should have this all wrapped.
Oh, yeah.
Take 9 damage.
It's just a matter of time now. And a matter of costing a bunch of Herd Migrations here for the Duke. Down to 7 is Anthony.
Herd Migration and draw 2 cards.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Value.
Like
Duke stamping his authority on this matchup here in game 1 versus Anthony Lee. So, game 2, Corey, what the heck does Golgari need to do to beat this domain ramp deck?
For starters, not mull to 5.
Yes.
That is a huge thing. Even Anthony had a great draw with that mulligan to 5, really drew out of it quite well, but then just was not able to dodge the Sunfall for 1 more turn. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough one. And now Reid Duke with that mulligan to 6, but is still 1 game away from locking up a World Championship top 8 appearance.
That's got to feel good.
Yeah.
But,
it feels good just watching it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being in his shoes.
Yeah, Reid Duke has plenty of fans all over the world, so they would love to see their hero make it through to the top 8 of the World Championship.
So Reid's hand here is quite awkward. We see Mirex, you would really want to just go turn 2 up the beanstalk before a duress can deal with it. But with the fact that you don't have another green source, if you never top deck one, you'll be really priced out of casting anything else. So a nice disciplined play here from Reid. And honestly, if there was a duress for that herd migration, it could have been pretty brutal.
Yeah, that would have been bad news bears indeed. But Mirex allowing the 1-turn use of its colored mana producing ability. So herd migration going and getting some lands there. Graveyard Trespasser on the board now for Anthony Lee, exiling the herd migration. Let's see where Reid goes here for turn number 3.
So now this looks like this could be a Virtue of Persistence on the Trespasser or up the beanstalk. I think there's even a Go for the Throat. Now we'll just see if there's the Swamp that is needed. Yep, looks like Forest and Swamp. So Reid has a ton of options this turn. It's just going to be if he values keeping his life total high or wants to start drawing some cards. And let's get real, we want to start drawing some cards.
Give me cards.
Ooh, Elspeth Smite off the top.
Oh,
Excellent.
yeah, that's a one of fun over in the deck.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, hey, look at this, that's fun. And also Exile, so if there is any Graveyard Recursion, you know, from any opponents, this card is gone for good.
Yeah, and he did have the option to smite that. Decides against it, and here is Shieldred to start picking away at Reid's life total. Now, Reid does have Swamp and Go for the Throat to have a nice clean answer for it.
Yeah, it didn't have it on the upkeep, so we'll take the 2 damage or 2 life loss there from the Apocalypse herself.
Wow, this is the first
It
time.
survives for now, though. He's picking his spot here. When does he go for it?
I'm gonna go to 22.
That was interesting to say go there and switch it to Night. You know, Anthony, you know, kind of saying that's one of the first times I've switched this to Night. Reid did have the opportunity to kill Shieldred before it went to Night and prevent an extra point of damage. And you think if just Anthony goes to attack here, it's almost assuredly just going to be Go for the Throat. So a bit of a strange pass of the turn there.
Do you think it was a misstep, or has he got something else in mind?
I don't. If he just automatically goes for the Throat then it feels like a slight misstep. But I never question the Duke, so. Because now he can't smite this werewolf either, you know, so.
It's the 1 extra toughness.
Yeah.
Still has the ward of the discard card.
Yeah.
But yeah. 4 more points of damage coming in as well as the Blossoming Tortoise added to the board here. Do we hit a land? Ooh, Restless Cottage,
the
lovely.
best land.
Did you see Anthony give a little heck yeah?
Yep.
Nod of the head there, so looking good here for Anthony Lee.
Yep. And a second cottage as well.
17.
Herd Migration once again, padding the life total, going and finding some more lands here for Reid Duke.
Yeah, and this is looking pretty rough for Reid. You know, you have the Archangel to kick once, which is fine.
It's not killing anything on the board,
You don't have Sunfall. Reid's not able to double spell to switch it back to Day, so the more and more it does look like it was slightly rough to let it go tonight.
But to be fair, there are plenty of things to keep track of in a game of Magic at any given time.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
And, you know, day and night is not something that people worry about too often, I guess. So
yeah.
Let's see where this goes. Jetmir's Garden for the Duke. Gonna tap 2 here.
-3 on your Tortoise.
And kill the Tortoise.
Okay. Tortoise gets cast. Doesn't look like there's another spell to play, but you could either play a land and cycle the Jetmir Garden or just play the garden. But now, I mean, you could get the Restless Cottages in there. You could get the Foundry in there, plus the Graveyard Glutton.
Yeah, the Cottages, you know, slowing that roll down a little bit because the Blossoming Tortoise off the board.
Yep.
Makes them their full activation costs. So let's see where we're going here for Anthony Lee.
Duress.
Yep, Duress. Let's take a look. We'll be able to grab, well, let's see. Does Reid Duke respond here with the Herd Migration? Kind of feels bad using 3 Herd Migrations just for land and life.
It's basically just saying, is it okay if you take Herd Migration? Because Elspeth Smite is just not very good right now.
Yeah, it's not doing anything at the moment.
So Reid knows the Herd Migration would get taken, and I think the 3 life is more important right now than anything, so. But now Anthony's going to see the good news that, well, there's not that much to deal with.
Nothing to really be worried about, yeah.
Archangel is definitely the card that he would wish to take because next turn, as long as we can double kick it, which it looks like we can deal with Graveyard Glutton.
Yeah, just need 2 cards to discard then? Because you'd have to pay the ward cost twice, right?
I would
was
think
to double kick the Archangel.
We're gonna hear it.
Target Graveyard Glutton with both. Do I have to pay the ward twice?
Yes, because it's
Yeah, I believe so.
Thank God Reid asked that question, Ailey, because I did not know the answer. It all comes down to,
Thank you, judges.
Yeah.
Once again, if
Reid-
you're ever in doubt, ask a judge.
I think Reid heard us, so he's helping
Yeah,
us
there you go,
out.
sure.
Thank you, Reid. It all comes down to if those kickers stack or if they combine to one, trigger. But since, we've definitely seen those go 2 at the face,
Sure,
2 at
yeah.
a creature, it makes sense that that does stack.
Yeah, so Reid needs 2 cards to discard. Did have a couple lands in hand, so...
I guess
So-
2 creatures to the trespasser.
So
grand
he
total
can
10?
do it
Yes,
by
so 10
playing a
with an
land,
exile.
and then whatever he draws, discarding that
Yeah.
and the
Oh, yeah.
plains or swamp, and be completely
12 to
hellbent.
23. Is that
If it's a Sunfall, the problem solved.
Yeah, yeah.
right? Yes.
Man, Graveyard Exile plenty here. The Cottage and the Graveyard Glutton getting in there. Down to 12 goes Reid Duke. Let's see what the draw is here.
Okay.
Proving Ground. All right, sweet. So, yeah. Happy kicking.
Yeah, we definitely might just see the Archangel discard 2 kind of plan.
Beside you who endures and tear asunder in hand for Anthony. So nothing to really deal with the Angel immediately.
Yep, can kind of attack through it if you just want to attack with your 4/4 Restless Cottages, but that's not the best plan if you just end
I'm
up
gonna cast this with 2 kickers.
not blocking and then
Mana value-
Archangel
mana
can
value's
just
still 4,
attack.
right?
Yeah.
All right. 4 damage to you. in the game form.
Oh,
Wow.
16 to 20.
I like
Okay.
this because that is just saying, you know what, I need to have my mana just in case I top deck Atraxa
Yeah.
or anything like that. But as it stands, I guess we don't have any blue mana for Atraxa quite yet.
not at the moment, no.
Yeah, so
Merix
can't
is just
cast that
producing
one.
colorless. Yator's, Jetmir's Garden, not a blue producing land. So yeah, has to find that still. But this is not the situation, or not the position you want to be in. If you Reid Duke, you're kind of just hoping that the top of the deck plays nice with you. Meanwhile, Anthony's looking pretty good.
Yep, and Reid's top of the deck is great.
Yeah.
There's no secret about that, and he does have the virtue as a play next turn to then draw a card as well. But yeah, this is still very troublesome.
Yeah, Tear Asunder kicked, exiles the Angel, no life for Reid Duke, and in for a big old chunk of damage.
So 12 up to 16.
Yeah,
that
I
takes
put you
6
up to
down
20.
to 10.
I don't know.
And I mean, Virtue doesn't really have a target right now. If there was one, even in Anthony's graveyard, you would see those starting to get eaten
Oh
up
yeah,
as
he's
well.
chewing up all of the creatures in the graveyard. Gaining life and preventing the virtue of persistence from even having an impact on this game. It's basically 7 mana do nothing at this point.
Yeah, 7 mana, draw 1 card. Not the best rate.
No.
No,
no.
Quick Study looks so much better at this rate.
Alrighty, where are we going from here?
I think you got to start recycling. I think the Virtue in the face of a Graveyard Glutton is too bad.
Yeah.
And maybe you can find Topiary Stomper is okay at 3 mana. Leyline Binding is probably the best possible.
Yeah, Binding would at least, keep Duke alive 1 more turn, but as it stands, I think Anthony may have lethal on board with the creature lands.
Cycle is a great sign for Anthony.
Yep.
And now,
Spar's headquarters.
so found Spar's headquarters, so I was going to say Reid is just representing cycling and drawing into Leyline Binding, but that is not an option because we do not fully have Domain.
Nissa sent an Animist now in hand for Anthony. I mean, if that doesn't end the game, I don't know what will.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this play better. He has the lethal on battlefield.
Whatever. Those 2 things make a food as well.
Goodbye, Graveyard, so yeah.
And the one Elspeth Smite is already gone, so I don't think Reid has a out.
Leyline Binding.
But it's,
Nope.
yeah, Leyline Binding couldn't be cast there because
Yeah,
it's
no.
not the full domain. Missing the island.
Good
Game number
grief.
3.
Yeah, that looked much, much better for Anthony.
ship 'em all.
Just stayed in control from the get-go.
Yeah.
So definitely took advantage of being on the play that game. So game number 3, let's go. Let's see if Anthony Lee will join Reid Duke at 9 wins, or if Reid Duke will be our first player into the top 8 here at the World Championship.
And looks like some full hands from both players. Yep.
Nice.
Just the way we like it. And the ideal start for Anthony and not the ideal start for Reid. Mostly because of the land. Starting with Forest is not great. You know, you have so many triomes. You're fine.
Yeah.
Headquarters is the best one, the Bant triome, but Forest is about the last land that you want to start with.
Yeah, so plenty of information here for Anthony. Knows about the 2 angels. Elspeth Smite, the only valid target. And we're getting a triome down, or a tri-land down.
Perfect information for Anthony with playing that land, but Reid says it's plenty worth it to cast that.
Bramble Familiar, no fetch quest yet, but will help Anthony get ahead in the mana department here, or at least keep pace with Reid Duke.
So now this will be interesting. Duress is one of the best cards from Golgari against this domain ramp deck, but Duress saw no other targets, so now it becomes this weird kind of sequence of when do you actually fire this Duress off, where it would make sense that Reid would draw, number 1, a non-creature spell, and number 2, a card that he couldn't cast. So now, going to 4 mana, you're probably going to play one of your 4 drops, but I would assume next turn, depending on what happens, you might fire off a Duress to try to clear the way, but things looking quite good for Anthony.
Yeah, at the moment he is certainly the aggressor. 4 mana available to him, like you mentioned, so could get the Torches down or Shieldred. Both are super, super impactful. Shieldred maybe a little more so.
I like Tortoise first to try to hit a land, probably, but yeah, I think both are great.
Cycling away.
Because since you already do have land 5, it's perfectly fine that you can go. I guess we don't have untapped land number 5, so we can't go Tortoise plus Duress next turn unless you draw land. So there was a cost to playing Shieldred first.
In response to the Shieldred, we saw the cycle, so Reid wouldn't take any extra damage.
So there,
do we have domain?
2 to Leyline Binding.
Close enough.
Draw my turn.
So 2 mana Leyline Binding, getting Shieldred off the board before the draw trigger happens.
Yep.
Excellent find there for Reid Duke to keep the Apocalypse off the board.
And now Anthony's got to look, okay, I had information on your hand. We saw Atraxa, we saw Archangel, and I'm pretty sure we saw both lands. So I think this is perfect information for Anthony right now.
Drew another Shieldred?
Ooh, I want to say there's only 1 in hand right now because the 1 got cast, but I could be wrong.
He's got 3 Shieldreds. That's just like, whew, so much.
Yep, Shelly is an impressive card.
Shelly. You're on first name basis, huh?
Yes,
Pet
yes,
names.
yes.
Okay. Put in a good word with the Apocalypse for me. I'd like to, you know, maybe survive.
Yeah, Shieldred's beaten me down so many times that we're now on first name basis.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Well, there she is again. The second Apocalypse cometh. Untap.
3 cards in hand after this, it looks like.
Yeah, so our graphic there may not be entirely correct. So it looks like we've got the Tortoise, a Misery Shadow, and Duress. So no other Shieldred in hand. Both of those have been seen on the board.
Okay.
Thank you for flicking through your cards, Anthony. Much appreciated.
Yeah, they've been really helping us out this match, that's for sure. So.
Familiar.
Nice. Archangel coming on down, smacking a poor little raccoon, and getting some life.
So Reid did have an option there to play Topiary Stomper and then line up a for sure Atraxa next turn.
Yeah.
Decides I'm getting too much pressure with my life total here. It's time to get the Archangel down and start mitigating some of this damage that Shieldred's going to do. Oh, this Duress is gonna whiff. Got him.
So nice. Yeah, got him. Spend 1 mana, do nothing.
That beautiful foil Atraxa.
That is very shiny. That's like, you know, burn your retinas shiny.
There you go, yeah.
All right. So Shieldred putting in some work here. This Archangel not able to stand up to the 4/5 Death Toucher.
So
Oh, wait, Glissa.
Glissa's pretty good. This Topiary Stomper will at least be able to get to land 7 to block that. But once again, the stats on Glissa, blocking it is not very good.
Yeah.
First strike Death Touch deals with anything.
Oh, yeah. And if that Shieldred were to go down and Glissa connects, well, there's another Shieldred just
Go for
waiting
the
there.
throat was huge.
Oh, Excellent draw here for Reid Duke, able to take care of Glissa. I mean, what's the biggest problem right here?
Yeah, it's close. Both are definitely troublesome in their own way. You know, if you kill Shieldred and then Glissa connects, you get Shieldred back. So that's the nightmare scenario that Reid has to avoid. So that might just be a reason in itself to get Glissa off the battlefield, and then just assemble Atraxa for the following turn, and then find a removal spell after that. So, AK, that means leave Shieldred on the battlefield for 3 more turns, and, you know, that's a real cost as well, but Archangel will be able to gain a little bit of life.
Yeah. So, you know, at this point, it's a case of, all right, well, I can deal with the Glissa, gain 3 life. If I need to block with the Stomper, it is there and available too, with 7 lands out.
Yep.
Removal in hand, next turn Atraxa, and hope that there's nothing from Anthony's side of things to deal with it.
Yeah, and I mean, there really isn't. You know, there's no hand disruption spell that also hits creatures in the lifts for Anthony. There's not many of them in the format anyways, but Pilfer being one of them. So it's going to happen. But now it's, can Anthony leverage a removal spell to push it out of the way and then push through damage before Reid can, you know, get his feet on the ground and stabilize this board.
Yeah, it's been scrapping here for a foothold, as you mentioned, so passes the turn, 3 mana up.
And this Go for the Throat is hidden information. Reid drew it right after the Duress.
Okay, that's fine though.
Duress is a dead draw here from Anthony, because you fire that off, you know, it's the Go for the Throat is just going to be cast in response.
Yeah.
So, terrible draw from Anthony, to be honest.
Yeah, if Reid were tapped out, that would have been fantastic.
Yep.
For the time being, looks like we're going to see 2 creatures jump in the way of Shieldred here.
I guess Archangel first, but then first strike damage.
No, says Reid.
No, thank you. No damage.
So Reid did a really nice play there here. Obviously already wanted to just double block Shieldred and is fine for that 2-for-1, but gave Anthony all the opportunity in the world to go for the throat, one of those creatures or something, and then deal with it there. Yeah, and as it stands with the way that Death Touch works, you do have to assign all 4 damage to the creatures, so 4 toughness will still mean that only one of the creatures gets dealt with, so
Topiary
not even a
survives.
2-for-1. Yeah.
So if you want to survive the apocalypse, get a dinosaur.
Yeah, there you go.
Reid Duke just stepping away for a second here. Blossoming Tortoise on the board for Anthony
Which
Lee.
line did you pick?
Death Touch.
Cool.
Yeah. Unless we're misunderstanding something there with Death Touch there, I believe you do have to assign lethal damage. Maybe that was Reid asking, hey, what were both creatures supposed to die? You know, is there damage you had to assign? But as it stands, we're just going to attack and then get Atraxa down.
Yep. Top 10.
Yeah,
1,
10
2,
cards.
3,
Ooh, nice.
4,
So we've got
5,
enchantments,
6,
3 enchantments, Sunfall, 4 creatures. We've got the Obstinate Baloth in from the board, and then 2 lands, it looks like.
Yeah, either way, looking great for Reid here. With no answer to that Atraxa, he's getting really close to being the first player into the top 8 of this World Championship.
Sorcery, enchantment, land, creature.
Nice.
I'm gonna choose this one.
Yeah, get the land. If we need to cycle it, that's a possibility.
Yep.
I'm gonna play Spar's Headquarters. And it's your turn.
Nice. Pretty good hit there off Atraxa.
Yeah.
Duress and Misery Shadow aren't going to be able to deal with this big ol' angel, so Corey, it's looking pretty good for the Duke as it stands right now.
It is looking great.
You got it.
Okay, all right. Anthony just saying, you know what, you got it, Duke, and that is 10 wins here for our Pro Tour for XE All-Be-One champion. So Reid
Not
Duke,
often you draw
another
3
top
Duress
8 for his
Domain is
list
slowly regretted.
of achievements.
Yeah, and we've seen Reid take second at the World Championship to Shihar Shenhar way back when, but has never
I feel like
won one of these tournaments, so he definitely is going to look to do that tomorrow. What a huge
I had to
accomplishment
get
for him.
pretty
Congrats,
crazily
Reid.
lucky in those 2 games, I think.
I messed up game 2 for sure. Like, just kind of did everything wrong against the Graveyard Trespasser.
Yep, there was the
Probably
I
should
let
have
it
just
go
taken my
tonight.
medicine and like killed it right away, but
Just seemed really expensive.
I made a judgment call, then things spiraled out of control.
There we go. And, you know, that is
So-
Kind of a great player.
Exactly. That's the sign of a great player, being able to look at the end of the match and think, you know, I mean, Reid Duke's one of the best players in the world, and still being able to realize, yeah, I'm going to make some mistakes, but being able to learn from them and, you know, really think with an open mind at the end of the game, what could I have done better? Even in a match he wins, that's what separates the greats from the elite.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And Reid Duke is certainly one of those. We're going to head over to Maria and Mani right now to find out more about our next matchup, so don't go anywhere.
Hey friends, don't go anywhere. Coming up next, we've got Kassis versus Kenji Sego.
Kassis is on his unique build of domain control, 4 copies of Up the Beanstalk, tons of expensive spells and controlling elements, allowing the set to really be grindy while still having more agency. On the other side, Kenji is playing Esper Midrange, the most played deck of the weekend, and very much trying to be ready for all coming threats while having your cheap, efficient creatures like Denick and Rafine. That's going to be domain control against Esper Midrange.
Kassis versus Kenji Sego is coming up next.
Welcome back to coverage of World Championship 29 from Viva Las Vegas. Haley Loney alongside Corey Baumeister in the booth. Checking out the game nights guys there, having their meet and greets.
I love those guys.
Oh, they're so great.
Oh,
they're the superstars here, but, well, for the most part, I'd say. But, you know, we're going to be crowning a couple superstars here this weekend as we watch the players competing to make it into the top 8 at the World Championship, Corey. Been an excellent day so far.
Yep, absolutely. And there's plenty more excellent Magic to come. We got all these really high stakes winning in Magic or matches coming up here. So yeah, don't move because you got a lot coming on.
Speaking of, let's jump in and take a look at the only 6-0 in draft, Kassis on domain control up against Esper Midrange in the hands of Kenji Sego. 8-2 up against a 7-3 record. So Kassis still has a couple of things to do before locking up that top 8, but he's got to be feeling great, Corey.
Yeah, feeling great, fresh off taking 2nd place at the last World Championship.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, so that's already incredibly impressive. Being the only player to 6-0 limited, really had a good grasp on that. And, you know, Ely, just a great friend of mine, and I've seen him play Magic so many times, and I've always said he's the best player that I know for sure. So it makes a lot of sense to see him doing so well at these tournaments, event after event.
Oh yeah, and an A+ human to boot as well. You know, like in the last World Championship, in the finals,
Yeah.
he was telling Nathan Stoyer, this is how you beat my deck.
Yes.
And we don't want to be like, well, Ely, you probably shouldn't have done that. But that's just the kind of player he is, right? You know, he wants to have the best possible outcome for any player that he interacts with, which is great, you know. But he even said, so I want to do one better than last time. So
Absolutely.
maybe world champion. Time will tell.
It's like the proud dad of the Pro Tour.
He is, yeah. And proud dad of 2 gorgeous kiddos as well.
All right, looks like Ely did mulligan to 6 this game, with Kenji keeping a fresh 7 with an excellent start.
Good grief, look at this go. Got Danik, we got Lord Skitter, Sewer King. Lord Skitter's second ability doesn't trigger though with Danik out, right? Because it's target?
Yes,
one
because it's target, it would not work. Yeah.
So just extra in case I'm gonna get rid of your graveyard, but Ely Kassis wants none of that, so Leyline Binding along with the cut down to get rid of both of those creatures, and the graveyards are free game once again.
And Ely did test with the rest of Team Channel Fireballs that, you know, Reid playing that domain list, but his list is much different, much more controlling, plays 4 Chrome Host Seed Sharks instead of some of the other things like Topiary Stomper, and really is trying to just control the battlefield more. Now, that being said, he did 6-0 limited and only 2-2'd constructed here with that 8-2 record, so you know, really can't be certain which version is better, but he's also playing a bunch of Shieldreds in the deck.
Goodness, these cards, these creatures don't stay on the board long enough for us to even register. You know, there's been a Shieldred, but no Urtices, no thank you. We had Danik Pie's Apparition, gobbled up there by another Leyline Binding, so cards flying fast and furious here for both players.
All right, let's see what our follow-up is here. Looks like Kenji's still got 4 cards in hand, with Ely at 2 or 3 there.
This domain control deck has been so impressive.
Yeah, whatever iteration you have of it, it very much is great. When you just play all the best possible cards, Ely is maximizing on Up the Beanstalk and Leyline Binding, so that's kind of the backbone of his deck. Just really maximizing that card. And we've seen Up the Beanstalk just be so good that
so
playing
many
anything
formats.
less than 4, you know, really seems silly at times.
There was so much debate on social media about Up the Beanstalk, you know, half of it's going, yeah, it's great. The other half's going, no, it's trash. It's pretty darn good, as it turns out. Turning all of your 5 mana value spells into card draw. Heck yeah.
So here is the end, which is a nice little card, exiling it, and you just get to peek at what's going on in your opponent's hand, deck, graveyard. So no Danik on either side will be cast here, and you get to see how your opponent sideboarded. So the end gives you a lot of good information, while being a okay removal spell. You know, 4 mana is a lot.
Not amazing or anything, but it's certainly information. I'm glad we're not the only ones who get tripped up by alternate arts and the like.
And it does look like Kenji not only you know, has cards in his language, of course, but also has a really cool looking deck with all these foils and all that.
Oh yeah,
so
it's beautiful, you know.
Really nice.
You can fancy up your deck, if not, why not?
Looks like Virtue, Destroy Evil, and the Wandering Emperor in hand for Kenji, able to deploy the Wandering Emperor right now, I believe, as long as that mana base agrees. That looks like a Ganjo there for the second white source, and Adakar Waste. I could be wrong, though.
I think that's a Takanuma, Bandit Mire, and a Ganjo.
Okay. A Ganjo, yep.
Thank you, Ely. Yeah, see? Pro Tour Dad.
There we go, helping us out.
Oh, yeah. All right, so with perfect information now, where does Ely Kassis go from here? Don't have his cards in hand available, unfortunately, but let's see what he deploys. It's another Shieldred, the Apocalypse.
And let's see if that 2 mana Ely has a negate or a Disdainful Stroke for this Wandering Emperor. And Kenji did have the opportunity to cast the Wandering Emperor before Ely had mana, so could backfire. Doesn't look like it's going to.
Yeah, that would have been ideal for Ely Kassis, but Shieldred just on the board now has to fight through. We saw Destroy Evil, so this Shieldred is likely not long for the world, but the the Wandering Emperor down on the board and assembling her forces.
Yep, and there's 1 negate in the board. Maybe Ely was saving it for that. No, Shieldred down.
Okay. double Shieldred's down. Let's see if the next variant of Shieldred will survive.
Yeah, you think it'll be a third art as well?
I think so. I'd bet on that, yeah. It's Vegas. May as well bet on something insubstantial, inconsequential. Shattered Sanctum.
Just maybe a tapping issue?
Tapped after the spell result.
Oh,
Looks like.
It's information gained that I didn't counter it.
that's what I'm looking for. I will ask you if you can remain the initial top lander. I think.
There's a Shatter Sanctum
Don't
attack.
change your.
Okay, and what Ely is saying there is by tapping the lands and then knowing it resolved, there was information gained. So most of the time, if nothing changed, you can untap the lands, but there was some information gained, so it looks like it was forced to continue tapping the mana like that. Something minor, I'm sure that won't even come up in this game, but something to be careful about.
For sure. So a lengthy battle here between two grindy mid-range and control decks in Esper mid-range and domain control. Wandering Emperor continuing to add to the board here. Another soldier, and in for 5 points of damage, so down to 12 goes Ely Kassis.
And the one thing that Ely's deck does not contain is Atraxa, you know, that big over-the-top effect that we saw from Reid's list of domain control. So there's not as many, you know, comeback mechanisms in Ely's version of domain control. So these kind of board states look to be even worse. This kind of, you know, trying to come back from this is amplified when you don't have the powerful spells.
Yeah.
There is Shieldred's Edict to get rid of the Planeswalker. But with one card in hand for Ely, he's in a lot of trouble, especially with this Virtue coming down next turn.
Ardenvale Fealty into Virtue of Loyalty hurts so much. I mean, just look at this battlefield. 4 creatures. Kenji's just like, sure, I'm a swing. And, you know, 3 mana available for Ely, but not doing anything about this attack. Down to 3 he goes, and Kenji is looking poised to pick up his 8th win here at the World Championship.
Yep, absolutely. Ely will have to take down 2 of the next 3 to make it to the top 8, and same with Kenji.
Untap. Counters on all, my friends. Do we have a board wipe for Ely Kassis?
There was the knock at the top. Let's see if it's Sunfall.
One time, baby. Doesn't look like it for 2 mana being tapped. What's he got? Up the Beanstalk, all right.
Okay, if that other card is land in hand, then Sunfall into this, and Ely would actually be in a pretty great situation, but it's got to be there.
Nope, that's it. The hand extends to Kenji. Sego picking up the win here, improving to 8 wins. So for both players, 2 more wins to go before they can lock up their spot in the top 8, Corey.
Yep, absolutely. And it sounds like, you know, if Ely were to sneak in there, he'd be like, can we change it to a booster draft for the top 8 with his record being 6-0 for that one. But yeah, big congrats to Kenji on a nice win there.
Yeah, maybe we can sign a petition somewhere and get Wizards to change things at the last second. Who knows? Alrighty, friends, we are going to take a quick break, and when we're back, we're going to be with the news desk after that.
Welcome back to Las Vegas, Nevada, and World Championship 29. 50 players remain here in our battle to name the best in the world. Magic the Gathering. Hey everybody, welcome back to the news. That's Marie Bartholdi and Monty DeVuti here as we get down to the wire on day 2 of competition, ever closer to our top 8. Let's take a look at our leaderboard and find out where we are at. Reid Duke has hit that magic number 10. He is the first member into our top 8. Monty, what does that mean for everybody else?
7 spots remaining, Maria, and we know that up until the last round, if you get to 10, you're in. So for Simon Nielsen, he's now the person that is 1 win away and has 2 rounds of win-ins before that ultimate round. For everyone else, still at least 2 wins away, so nobody else is within that throwing distance other than Simon Nielsen right now.
All right, so a lot of really big moments coming up here in these final rounds of Standard here on day 2 of competition. You see Eli Kassis in there, 8-3 as well. Somebody who came in second last year at the World Championship. Take a look, here is our top 8 so far. Reid Duke in with 10. 10 is the magic number before the final round of play. Who will be joining him? We will find out so soon. And there is Reid taking a picture with teammates there. So happy to make the top 8 here at this World Championship. Congratulations to him at being the first person into our top 8. Cedric talked to him after his big win last round. All right, we're queuing it up. There it is. There's a look at the trophy while we wait. This is what the players are playing for this weekend. All right, let's hear from Reid now.
This guy again. Reid. Again? Again?
What can I say?
Reid, you just won your match to lock it up, to make the top 8 of another World Championship. Easy question. How's it feel, man?
It feels awesome. I mean, this is what I woke up in the morning hoping to do, and just keep the train rolling for Sunday. And like I said to you an hour ago, I mean, you don't get that many shots to be the world champion, so I really want to make the most of it.
So for Constructed, the story's kind of going around a little bit. Late game audible. I've known you for a while. I don't think of you as someone who makes kind of the late game switch. Now, trusting Nassif, okay, that makes some sense. Domain control, clearly within the wheelhouse of what you like to do. But after you decided, you know what, okay, I'm going to make the switch, like nerves, you said earlier, limited.